quick to anger, always passionate, unruly rebels ready to rough you up. I'll give you a head start. You're the tortoise and I'm the hare, a pissed off fuck the world hare with a score to settle and a thirst like the devil's own. Hello, and welcome back to Masquerade Monday and a new lore video about everyone's favorite thug, the Brujah, the first in my series on vampire clans. Most players of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1 hear Brujah and immediately think of the beloved Anarch Jack. I made a video all about the Anarchs, which you can watch here. Now Jack isn't one for history lessons or storytelling.
Yeah, I could tell you about the history of the movement about our struggle. What's any of that shit mean anyway? Do we want to sit through history class here?
But here's what we do know about the history of the Brujah. Although it's unclear who the Brujah antediluvian was, some name him Ilias, others say Choila the Elder, we know he was a callous and fiercely logical creature who was dispassionate in the extreme and sired equally detached Childer. One of these Childer was called Choila, later called Choila the Rebel, who according to clan history diablerized the Brujah antediluvian and claimed the clan as her own.
You ever hear of diablerie? Well, it's when a vampire drains another more powerful vampire to death. Diablerie is the Sabbat's specialty, but it's a big taboo in civilized kindred circles, and damn sure forbidden by the Camarilla.
A small bloodline calling themselves the True Brujah claimed descent from the original Brujah antediluvian, and they still hold a grudge against those descended from Choila the Rebel's line. Kindred in general experience a muting of emotions. Some claim that they only experience the memories of emotions they felt when they were alive, and the Brujah are perhaps the most human of kindred by experiencing those deep passions. The True Brujah, on the other hand, are almost entirely unemotional. They're cold and calculating. In the Gehenna book, which features a number of different potential Gehenna scenarios, one of the scenarios includes the Brujah antediluvian. Interestingly, they're infuriated by the very idea that the True Brujah claim descent from him, implying that it's actually the True Brujah who descend from the betrayer, Choila the Rebel. Although I've mentioned diablerie in other videos, I'd like to briefly discuss it now. Diablerie is the term used to describe the act of drinking another vampire's blood and drawing the diablerized vampire's soul into the diablerist canite. Most kindred consider diablerie to be a heinous act, akin to cannibalism. The allure of diablerie persists, however, as the pleasure gained from it is said to be greater than that of even the kiss, and is one of the only ways a vampire can lower their generation. An example of the Brujah, Choila the Rebel diablerized her sire, lowering her generation from 4th to 3rd, thus putting her on the same generational level as other antediluvians. I believe this will play some sort of role in Bloodlines 2, since the player character is confirmed to be a thin blood, but I made a video about my thoughts and ideas about Bloodlines 2 according to the trailer that was released at E3, which you can also watch here. Following the death of the original Brujah antediluvian, the clan lived among mortals known as philosopher warriors, being revered as kings and gods. They tried to create harmony among the children of Seth, also known as humans, and the Childer of Cain, in an attempt perhaps to recreate the second city of the antediluvians, one of many topics I will cover later in an upcoming lore video I'm making about Cain. The first city where the Brujah attempted this peaceful experiment was Athens, Greece, but conflict with the Ventru in Sparta led to the First Brujah War, which humans in history would later call the Peloponnesian War. After their defeat, the Brujah left Greece and started again, this time in Carthage. Many Brujah say that Carthage was a utopia for kindred and kine alike, where harmony and justice reigned supreme. Not all clans, or even history, agrees on this, however, but most Brujah insists on its accuracy. Carthage eventually fell to the Romans with the help of the Malkavians and Ventru of Rome. The city was crushed, burned, and salted, and another experiment was failed in the eyes of the Brujah, and another grudge added to their growing list. During the Dark Ages, the Brujah were considered a clan of warrior scholars, noted for their fierce devotion to radical philosophies. The Brujah viewed themselves as practitioners of a philosophy of total mental and physical discipline, and would often train their neonates in combat and classics with equal discipline. Brujah of the Dark Ages were also associated primarily with politics. Then the Renaissance came, and that proved to be one of the turning points in the history of the clan, when the division between the various ideological strains within the clan exploded in heavy infighting that strained them still today. The cultural explosion within Europe resulted in ecclesiastical and civic strife that the Brujah were only too willing to follow. During the Victorian Age, the clan was divided into those few who lived true to their legacy as the learned clan, and those bulk who were mere troublemakers and criminals in the eyes of their sect, as many neonates rebelled against the oppressive and stagnant politics of the Camarilla. The closeness of the clan to mortal passions brought forth the best and the worst within them. Many Brujah started to regard themselves as the proletariat of vampiric society and wanted to change this through revolution. Many Brujah during this time were fierce supporters of various ideas like Marxism and Darwinism, and engaged in various revolutionary groups to topple the rising pauperization during the Industrial Revolution. But now here we are in modern nights, and the Brujah are rebels and provocateurs, and as rebels it's in their nature to challenge the status quo. Many elders from both the Brujah and other clans bemoan the state of the clan in modern nights. They see the Brujah as having lost the elegance and nobility of their previous state, with the modern clan being little more than dumbed-down thugs, suitable largely as cannon fodder. The truth, of course, is more complicated. What defines the Brujah are their passions, and those have never diminished. The philosophies that were once debated in salons are now put into practice on the streets. The Brujah don't fight for nothing, they fight for ideals, and their passions for those ideals is what drives them. More so than any other clan, the Brujah still feel the flames of passion that inspired them as mortals. Brujah love a cause and are quick to act on a stirring speech or an accusation of injustice. Rare is the Brujah that would allow themselves to be manipulated or pandered to.
Kid, I never answered to no man in life. Now I sure as shit ain't taking orders from a vampire with a suit and a funny name. And when I die again, the devil's gonna have to cut me a deal if he wants my ass. Yeah, man, it's called kicking ass and crushing the skulls of any asshole who steps on my toes. That seems to work. People dig it.
A Brujah is their own master, first and foremost. So honestly, it's no surprise that many in the clan find their loyalties lying with the ideals of the anarchs. So now that we've discussed the background of the Brujah, let's talk about some other things that make up this wild clan. Nothing physical distinguishes Brujah from other clans, but most enjoy adorning themselves with in-your-face clothing and provoking outfits. Brujah may feel kinship to a city, but they rarely develop strong ties. Most Brujah have several hideouts available at any given time. As creatures of passion, Brujah often embrace without really thinking too much about it, and tend to choose those who have a similar outlook, or those of an opposite ideology purely out of spite. Really, the Brujah have no organization. The primary structure of the clan is divided between two groups, the iconoclasts and the idealists. Iconoclasts, in general, want to tear everything down, while idealists want to solve problems through intellectual or theoretical means. The Brujah have two clan variants. There's the Sabbat-aligned Brujah, who are perhaps the ultimate degeneration of the clan, and potentially what they may become. They're violent to the extreme, and they often constitute the bulk of the Sabbat's cannon fodder and frontline fighters, whether in battle or debate. The Sabbat Brujah were one of the first clans to rebel against the elders during the Anarch Revolt, and see themselves as its founders, despite insistence from the sides of the La Sombra and the Shimichi. I made a lore video about the Sabbat as well, which you can watch here. In recent nights, the Sabbat Brujah experienced an upsurge in membership thanks to reckless embrace tactics, and consider themselves as one of the main pillars of the sect. Brujah of the Islamic faith were known as Bayit Mushakis, and many were the childer of the Carthage kindred. They spread throughout North Africa, in particular, with the younger ones looking to punish the Roman kindred who had destroyed the Great Experiment. It seemed to work. Most, if not all, of the Ventru were pushed from the Islamic lands and spent much of the Dark Ages trying to regain a foothold there. The Brujah of old followed the Olympian ideal, the perfection of body and mind, which predated even Carthage, and as a result, most of the ancient Brujah steeled and trained their bodies without relent, and were well educated in both metaphysical and scientific themes. All that a Brujah does, they do with passion. That is both their curse and their blessing. Brujah adopt causes which they support with volume and vitriol. Some Brujah follow charismatic members of their own clan, while others prefer stances of blatant defiance defiant individualism. Many Brujah are glad to have an opportunity to speak their minds, then indulge in a bit of destruction afterward to illustrate their points. As divided as the clan is, even if they are all working against each other in some way, they still stick together. If any kindred not of their blood would oppose a Brujah, they would face the wrath of the whole clan, as even idealists would defend iconoclasts, and each iconoclast is more than ready to beat someone up who humiliated a clan member. Two conventions the clan does support universally are the rant and the rave. Rants are just that, informal meetings at which anyone who can scream loudly enough can have their opinions heard. Raves, named after the all-night dance parties, are social gatherings in the guise of huge-scale musical or entertainment events. One usually leads to another, and clues to the locations of the events are often hidden for others to find. According to Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition, these are the Brujah's opinions on other clans and other sects. Fast, invisible, fanatical, and they want to drink my fucking blood? Sounds like a good case for doing unto others. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and the tree should have been chopped down long ago. Much respect, so long as we agree it's mutual. If you have to deal with one of these nasty dagos, you've already lost. No habla ventru with a different hat on. Trust one? No. Find some common ground with one? Maybe. It's better to have one telling you shit about someone else than the other way around, so be cool. I'll bet I can throw one further than you can. If you can catch one, see if he'll blow you. They might as well be good for something. If one of these witches starts looking at you weird, you'd better hope you can get close to him before your blood catches on fire. Nasty old bats with claws where their junk used to be, but at least they're usually honest. Boot? Meat face. Now I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the Brujah? Did you play as one in Bloodlines 1? Did you learn anything new about them in this video? What lore video do you want to see from me next? I make videos multiple times a week, and every Monday is Masquerade Monday, so if you enjoy what I do, please consider hitting that subscribe button. A huge shout out to Ian Watson, aka Fawn Aether, for his help with compiling the info for this video and for offering insight into Vampire the Masquerade lore. Thank you so very much for watching, it means the absolute world to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!